Hello again, and welcome to Mike's Dreams. Today we are going to unbox the General Dynamics F-111C, also known as the Pig or the Aardvark. Now, Australia, or this is a specific model, by the way, by Hobby Master, and it is a quite large, or normally larger than what I previously had as a die-cast model. Anyway, this General Dynamics F-111C Aardvark Pig is a wonderful airplane. It's a multi-role airplane operated by the Royal Australian Air Force. And I have the opportunity to witness this plane fly during the air show in Adelaide in 2005. Now, we're going to unbox this model because it is one of my favorites, because I had a little history because I saw it again during the air show in 2005. Well, during the air show in 2005, I was fascinated. The first time you see the airplane fly, it will fascinate you. And I was in awe when I saw, there's a lot of flame coming out of the jet engine. And really, that was an air show, so it was just part of the show. But what is that little jet stream or flame coming out at the rear? It's actually fuel. The plane is literally dumping and burning fuel at the same time. And as an onlooker or spectator of the air show, that would definitely fascinate you. Wow! But again, it's fuel being dumped and at the same time being ignited. So it looks like a long spray of flame coming out of the jet engine. So this is a Hobby Master die-cast model. It is 1/72nd scale. It's approximately more than a foot. So it's a pretty long one, and it has a sweep wing model, which means like the F-14, it can retract its wings, especially when it flies supersonically. So again, this is a lovely plane. It's pretty heavy, made of die cast by Hobby Master and manufactured in Bangladesh, as most of the Hobby Master models are being made in Bangladesh. Probably it's cheaper to produce there, but they're selling it priced dearly or more expensive, especially if it comes from overseas. Anyway, I ordered this at an eBay store coming in from, Sydney or Melbourne. Okay, so the Royal Australian Air Force, talking about the plane, has operated several of these Aardvark or F-111C bomber planes. And again, they have retired this recently, I think sometime in 2010, in relation to the fact that we have started to operate the Super Hornet, and in anticipation that we will be having the F-35A Lightning II in Australia. General Dynamics F-111C, nicknamed the Pig, is a variant of the F-111A. It is a medium-range tactical aircraft developed by General Dynamics as a requirement by the Australian government. The design was based on the F-111A, as I mentioned earlier, and it includes a longer set of wings, and in doing so, it has strengthened the entire plane, or the undercarriage especially. The Australian government has ordered about 24 of these planes to equip the RAAF for the Royal Australian Air Force, and the order was placed in 1963. But the delivery was done almost a decade after. It was in 1973 when 4 of these planes were delivered to the Royal Australian Air Force. Well, the Australian government has operated or has bought or leased 28 of these planes to serve in the Australian Air Force or the Royal Australian Air Force, again, as a training aircraft and as a deterrent. And of course, because it has a long snout and the characteristic of the plane to hug the terrain, meaning it can really fly very low, as if it would hug the terrain. It was known as the pig. So affectionately, the Aardvark F-111 was called the pig. Two or three of them were in Adelaide during the air show in 2005. And of course, 5 years later, it was retired because the newer planes came in. But during its lifetime and service in the Australian Air Force, it gave the RAAF a powerful strike capability, but were never used in combat. Now, this Hobbymaster 1/72nd scale model of the Aardvark measures about 33 centimeters, which means it's longer than a ruler, longer than a foot. Okay, so this is a pretty large model compared to the previous models we have featured on Mike's Dreams. It is a lovely little plane, and look at that. It's a sweep wing model, meaning it can expand and retract. There. Isn't that a beautiful plane? Well, aside from that, it's quite heavy too. It has a minimum plastic. This 1/72nd scale pre-finished die-cast metal, and it has quite a few plastic bits, only a minimum plastic bit, and professionally painted, the paint scheme that I like. All the markings are pad applied for superb results, and it also has a crew of 2. So the only plastic parts are the fuel, extra fuel tanks, and of course the landing gears. Aside from that, the canopy and the pilots. Now, it also comes with a display stand. The landing gears can be displayed up or down. It depends on how you want to display the model plane. This specific plane is a highly sought collector's model plane, primarily because, number one, it has retired from its service, or none of these planes are in service in any of the air forces around the world, or who has this as part of their inventory during its prime. So, as I mentioned earlier, the F-111s were retired by the Royal Australian Air Force in December of 2010, primarily because they were no longer, or they were outdated and no longer cost effective to maintain and operate. And in anticipation that the Air Force was already considering upgrading the inventory of F-18's Super Hornets, and of course with the advanced order of the F-35 Lightning II. Okay, so you ask, where are the Aardvarks now? Or where are the F-11s in Australia? Where are they? What happened to them? So most of these planes are actually buried. Not the whole plane, only mainly the fuselage. They're actually dismantled piece by piece, but mostly the fuselage are buried in Queensland. Exactly where? In Swanbank. Well, the operational career of the F-111 came to an end on the 3rd of December 2010 at the Royal Australian Air Force Amberley near Brisbane, Queensland in Australia as a crew in an F-111C variant touched down for the last time. It was the aircraft's last landing. Now, following the retirements of the F-111s in Australia, 13 of the surviving aircrafts are all preserved in aviation museums around Australia. and mostly in air bases. The remaining are all buried in a Swanbank landfill outside of Ipswich, Queensland, and they have been dismantled and buried, most of them anyway, as a requirement or an agreement between the United States and Australia to dispose of the F-111s securely. Of course, there were a lot of protest or displeasure among most veterans of the Air Force in Australia how the planes were disposed of. But this is the only way, the best way to secure them properly, because some parts of the F-111s are actually made of asbestos. And if they get exposed, they become a hazard. So they needed to be buried. And only the fuselage were buried, a lot of them, most of the planes anyway, and the wings and the stabilizers, as well as the tail, were all removed for scrap. The fuselage, or the main body, were constructed out of bonded panels, and the bonding used asbestos. This is the main reason why it was correct, right, or prudent to bury them. Trying to recover the materials was not very cost effective, and it was full of hazards requiring a very comprehensive facility and a lot of PPEs to even attempt to do so. So it was decided to bury them to take away the possibility of exposure to asbestos. They were barely recognizable, by the way, by the time they were buried. And so, to celebrate this iconic aircraft of the Royal Australian Air Force, once upon a time the main bomber of the Royal Air Force of Australia, we are having the F-111 unboxing today. And of course, it is no longer in operation, but we have the model. All we have left is the model to commemorate the life, the memory of the F-111 aardvark. Again, this is made in the United States of America, and we operated 28 of these airplanes in Australia once upon a time, not so long ago. And that history will forever be embedded as we enshrine this specific model plane of Hobbymaster, a die-cast 1/72nd scale, about 33 centimeters long, in my display cabinet. So thank you very much for viewing Mike's Dreams. We will be unboxing more models as we go along, and definitely we have a lot in our list, and we have a few Russian planes as well. Hopefully you'll be around. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and probably leave a comment if this is one of the many things you like to watch on YouTube. Again, model planes is not every man or every woman's cup of tea, but a special group of people would probably love to see them. Thank you very much for being there. And that's it for another episode of Mike's Dreams. So till then, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. And keep that channel right where it is, on Mike's Dreams.